this past weekend, I was at Crystal Palace for Rev Pro Wrestling High Stakes. And of course, whenever I visit our nation's capital, I try and visit as many CEX stores as possible. And this time we are visiting 3 brand new stores here on the crazy world of CEX. Welcome to my continuing mission to visit every CEX store in the entire world. From the weird to the wonderful, the big to the small, I am here to visit them all. This is the crazy world of CEX. Hello again, folks, and welcome back to the crazy world of CEX. My continuing adventure to try and visit every single CEX store in the entire world. And this past weekend, I was lucky enough to be in attendance at Rev Pro Wrestling for the final independent match of the greatest wrestler of all time, the Billy Goat Will Ospreay for Rev Pro Wrestling. And of course, while in London, I had to hit up some CEX stores because honestly, nowhere else in the entire world is there a greater concentration of CEX stores than right here in London. Over the course of the weekend, I managed to hit up 6 brand new CEX stores, and in this episode, we're going to be going through the first 3, as well as is tradition here in the crazy world of CEX, hitting up my local CEX store here in the fine city of Norwich. Just before we hit the road, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe. So I put new videos out every Saturday night at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And remember, if you ever miss a single episode of the crazy world of CEX, fear not, I'll link them all down below in a playlist. Here we go then, our first CEX store this time is in Deptford, and let's head straight to the window and see what they have to offer. Now this is a fairly small store, but we never judge a store by its size, and straight off the bat I'm blown away by this. Batman Returns for the Mega CD. I was very tempted to pick this up, but it did not have the manual, so I did pass. But it is good that they're labelling these as such now, so you know if the label's there straight away. But let's head inside and see what's hiding here in Deptford CEX. As you can see, this is quite a thin, long CEX store, but we're about to see something which I have never ever seen in any CEX store before. You will not guess what it is. It is a cat. Yes, folks, there is a cat here in this branch of CEX. What even? Cats aside, let's move on to the glass cabinet of dreams, and a pretty good selection of PlayStation 1 games here, and a surprisingly large amount of PlayStation 1 Platinum games. An Atari Jaguar, a console that is incredibly high on my want list, but honestly, I'm holding out for a boxed copy because the box for this console is absolutely iconic. Now is the time to buy loose N64 games from CEX. For some reason, loose N64 is super duper cheap in CEX at the moment, and if you are looking for loose games to boost your collection, now is the best time to do it as the prices are bottom dollar. Unlike the GameCube games, which seem to be sneaking up in value, and more of these are making their way into the glass cabinet of dreams because of their value. Sadly, not much here in the way of vintage Nintendo cardboard, just a couple of SNES games, and honestly these weren't in the greatest of condition, so I did pass on these. But I have never seen this many Sonic amiibos in one place. I'm guessing somebody just traded these in for CEX credit, but some of these are surprisingly valuable. Here is the most important thing when it comes to buying physical games. You own that game. So that's why I wanted to pick this up. Saints Row the Third, the full package, which includes all of the DLC on the disc, so it can never be taken away from you. Remember, with digital games now, you are essentially renting your game and it can be removed anytime. Sadly, all over the country, it seems that the Xbox 360 sections and of course the PlayStation 3 sections are getting smaller. And honestly, I've bought about 90% of the Xbox 360 games I want for my collection, but here's one I'm still missing: Bloodstone 007. An absolutely fantastic Bond game in the Call of Duty engine. I very nearly missed this here in Deptford, this little retro section to the side of the counter. You can see here there's some Sega Saturn games, some Mega Drive games and some Master System games. And honestly, it makes it so much easier now that it says on the box if it has the manual or not, because honestly, more often than not, I will not pick these up unless they are complete. 1 store down, 2 to go, so let's follow CEX Cat on to our next CEX here on the crazy world of CEX. Our next stop is Croydon, and once again quite a small store. I'm guessing because most of the CEX stores in and around London are normally quite small, just obviously because of the rental prices. But heading to the Glass Cabinet of Dreams, once again we have a fairly sizable stack of PlayStation 1 games. I think this is probably just because recently the trade-in prices on PS1 games have been the highest they've ever been and have sadly now gone back down. Some really cool PS5 stuff in here, including the much coveted Spider-Man PlayStation 5. It definitely seemed to be a case of quality over quantity here in Croydon. As you can see, a copy of Paper Mario and a Thousand Year Door, really nice GameCube game. Alien Hominid, a Game & Watch, a really nice Ice Blue N64, Castlevania 4, one of my most coveted SNES games. Sadly, that one wasn't quite in the condition I was looking for this time. A loose copy of Comic Zone, which I'm gutted I missed, as I already have a box for that one. Are you in the market for a copy of The Last of Us Season 1 on Blu-ray? Well, Croydon has you covered. I have no idea why they had so many copies of this amazing series. When it comes to the PlayStation 3, I think there are certain games that in the years to come are going to get more expensive, like 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, which at £12 at the moment is a real bargain, but trust me, in years to come that game is only going to go up in value. It's the more desirable PlayStation 3 games such as this one, and also this game here, Never Dead, that are kind of the more obscure, which are definitely going to get very expensive in the years to come, and honestly now is the best time to grab these. Sadly, again, a very small Xbox 360 section here. Nothing much to write home about, but remember back in the day how many terrible movie tie-in games we had, such as this one, Battleship. Let me know in the comments down below, what was worse, the video game or the movie? That film was an absolute shipwreck, for lack of a better term. Here's a cool game which I still haven't picked up, Conflict Denied Ops. I love the other games in the Conflict series, so let me know in the comments down below if you've played that one. For £1.50, I probably should have just picked it up and taken the risk, and that's the beauty of the Xbox 360 at the moment. There are so many hidden gems that are so cheap, and like I said earlier, now is the best time to pick these games up while they are super cheap, because this is the bottom price the Xbox 360 is going to be. It's only to go up. Of course, I am a physical game collector, but I also have Xbox Games Pass because honestly, it's too cheap not to. Just for some of the games you get to play on there for the price is well worth having, but I am starting to buy a lot of the games that I play on Games Pass physically when they get cheaper. Games such as this one, Dead Rising 4, because remember, at any time they can take these games away from the service. Now here's a game I've been looking to pick up for a while, Knights of Alamur Re-Reckoning. I heard nothing but good things about this game, even though I think when it originally released it absolutely tanked. So for £5, I'm going to give this one a go on the PlayStation 4, but let me know in the comments down below if you've played that one. There we have it then, 2 CEX stores down, 1 to go here on the crazy world of CEX. Our final store this time is Tooting CEX, and when the bus clears you'll see it there again in the distance. Now this was again quite a small CEX store, but let's hope we can find something really cool when we're inside this one. Heading to the window, there's some pretty good bits in here. I'm quite surprised to see PlayStation VR in here. I absolutely love the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man edition, a thing of absolute beauty. There's an Evercade console down here, so I'm hoping to find some Evercade games inside. As you can see then, out of the 3 stores we visited this time, this one was by far and away the largest, and one thing I did really like was all these promotional game displays around the store. I don't think I've ever seen that before in any CEX store. But let's head to the Glass Cabinet of Dreams. We have the Street Fighter 6 Collector's Edition here, which honestly, I think there's so many of these in CEX stores. I'm not sure if they were super cheap somewhere and CEX was probably giving more credit than people were paying for them, but if you know why there's so many of these in CEX stores, please let me know in the comments down below. So really nice selection of retro here and some really nice SNES games, and a game you do not see very often, Prince of Persia. Yes, it is loose, but for that price, I'm going to pick this game up because it is a surprisingly rare SNES game and definitely one I want for my collection, so let's grab it. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you will know I love 2 things, Jurassic Park and steelbooks. Indeed, I have an entire series on this channel, Steelbook Hunting in CEX. So I was very tempted to pick this up, the Jurassic Park trilogy on Blu-ray for just £6 in this incredible steelbook. But honestly, I already own this exact same Blu-ray trilogy, just without the steelbook, so I did pass. Even though this was the largest set of free stores we visited this time, I was actually surprised at how small the DVD section was, and I wonder if this is a sign of things to come. Heading over to the PlayStation 3 section, and while small, there was some games I've never seen here before, such as Bound by Flame. I did pass on it as I know nothing about that game, but let me know in the comments down below if that's a good one. One thing I would recommend is picking up these classic HD trilogy remasters, as these are fairly cheap at the moment, and honestly I think in years to come these are going to get super expensive. Heading over to the Xbox 360 section, and another series of games which I think are going to get super expensive in years to come are Castlevania games. On every console, these games slowly go up in value, and I honestly think the Xbox 360 is going to be no different. So for £10 is a great time to grab this. It can be quite hard to predict what Xbox 360 games are going to get more expensive in the future. Like, I never expected the Spider-Man games to get this expensive, and I wonder if they'll get more expensive or stay at the same price. I know that's down to licensing, but let me know your thoughts on the Spider-Man games in the comments down below. I was genuinely surprised by the lack of steelbooks this time in CEX. This was one of the only ones I saw, and I did pass on it because honestly I'm not too much of a fighting game fan, because honestly once again I kind of suck at these, but this was a really good looking steelbook. So once again, comment below if you would have picked up this King of Fighters steelbook. Looking back, it is a really nice one. There we have it then folks, 3 more CEX stores crossed off the list, but fear not, I have a future episode upcoming where I visit 3 more CEX stores in and around London, and that's because over the course of a weekend I managed to visit 6 CEX stores, and honestly I have the blisters to prove it. Now, as is tradition, to Norwich. Here we are then, back in the wet and miserable fine city of Norwich, hitting up my local CEX, and I'm headed straight to the Xbox 360 section, as honestly these sections are getting smaller and smaller, and like I said earlier in the video, I've got about 90% of the games which I want for my Xbox 360 collection, but there's never been a better time than now to fill those holes in your collection, and this is a game I need. I already have Arkham City, but I wanted the Game of the Year edition, as this is absolutely stacked with an amazing amount of DLC, and moving into the digital age, it's this DLC which is going to be harder and harder to keep hold of. Here we are then, back in the games room, not just from an awesome weekend of game hunting, but from an awesome weekend of wrestling. Now, I don't want to spoil any of the results from Rev Pro, and I don't want to ruin any of the surprises because it was an amazing night. Now, that event is available to stream online, so please go and check it out, but for now, let's jump into the pickups. Now, I'm a massive fan of first-person shooters, and our first pickup from Deptford is this game right here, 007 Bloodstone. Now, this is a James Bond game, which I don't think enough people talk about. It's not directly based on any films, and it uses a Call of Duty engine, which means it's a real solid first-person shooter. Now, being from Activision and also being a licensed game, this is the kind of game which I love to pick up physically, because at the end of the day, very, very soon, if not already, this one is going to be impossible to get digitally, and remember, with physical, you constantly and consistently own your games. Continuing the theme of owning our games, next up we have Saints Row the Third, the full package, in this really nice looking PlayStation 3 Essentials box, which kind of gets you thinking for the future, but more about that later. Now, the thing is with this one, it says on here includes 3 mission packs and over 30 bonus weapons and outfits on disc. This is one of the hardest things when it comes to game preservation, the DLCs. That's because more often than not, these DLCs are normally just that, downloadable content, and these very, very often get removed from storefronts. So this right here with all the content on the disc is the best way to preserve this game for playing in the future, and honestly you need to, because it's an absolute banger. Just the one pickup from Croydon. It's a PlayStation 4 remaster of a game which was previously released for the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, which kind of went under the radar when it was first released, but I've heard nothing but good things about this game right here, Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. So I'm trying to kind of fill the void which is slowly being left in my life from Baldur's Gate 3, so I'm looking for these kind of third-person RPG games. This looks to be a little bit like Fable kind of thing, but I've heard really good things about this game, and this is one of the benefits of a remaster. If a game comes out and kind of flies under the radar, doesn't get the recognition it deserves, hopefully when it gets a remaster, more people fall in love, so hopefully this time I'll fall in love with this one. Our final game from Tooting is this right here, Prince of Persia for the SNES. Now this is a game which is getting increasingly hard to find. Now more often than not I will not pick up loose SNES games. I'd mainly just wait and try and get them boxed. But this is a game you do not see very often, even unboxed. I think at time of recording this video there's only about 4 copies of this available in CEX nationwide, so this is definitely a really hard one to find, and for £12 it's an absolute classic which I needed to add to my SNES collection. Our final pickup this time from my local CEX store here in the fine city of Norwich is continuing the theme of picking up games which come with all the DLC on the disc, and it is this game right here, Batman Arkham City, and this is the Game of the Year edition, and this comes with an absolute stack of bonus content. It includes Harley Quinn's Revenge, the Catwoman pack, the Robin bundle pack, the Nightwing bundle pack, the Arkham City skins pack, and the challenge map pack. Here is the thing, in the age of digital gaming, content like this can be taken away at any time, and this is the only way to preserve games so you always have this to play at your leisure anytime you want in the future. For me, game collecting is all about preservation. It's about being able to go back and play games at my leisure, to always own a game, to never have the fear that something's going to be removed from service or taken away from me, because at the end of the day, with physical games, you own your content, and with digital, it can be taken away in an instant. There we have it then, folks. 3 more stores crossed off the list of the frankly hundreds that I still have left to visit around the world. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and who knows, maybe next time I'll be hitting up your local CEX here on the crazy world of CEX. See you all soon!